Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is the Governmental Affairs Special Subcommittee on Redistricting and Elections. We're happy to have you here today. Before we get started, we're going to have a moment of prayer. I'm going to ask if Representative Gullett, if you will give us a word of prayer.
Sure. Thank you. Bow your heads. Father God, we come to you today. Appreciate everything you do for us, God. We're grateful for you and for your love and mercy. Father, give us the ability to do this work today and in your name and in your honor, and bless those here today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. We have one bill that we will be hearing today. And if I could, I'll call now on Representative Maynard. If you would go forward with your bill. You want to go to the podium?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity. This is House Bill 1199. I don't know what more I can say besides the Fulton County Board of Commissioners has not submitted a map. Last week, you saw decorum at its lowest due to personal ego and pride. You have a timeline of facts before you, the committee does, that shows exactly why and how Fulton County failed to submit a map. Fulton's initial map was sent in the wrong format, and the reapportionment office could not process it. They sent a corrected format that had multiple, too many technical errors and an almost 6% deviation. The same day the map was submitted, at a delegation meeting on Zoom, I asked the reapportionment office ahead of the meeting, knowing that there were going to be questions about the process. There were questions about the process. I called her during the Zoom and said, can you please get on this Zoom call to explain the processes? Prior to her getting on the Zoom, the commissioners, not the commissioners, but people on the call said, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. When Gina presented, they said, I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware. Their initial map split communities of interest, split almost 30 precincts, gave the poorest and most marginalized citizens 3 county commissioners in a single neighborhood, the district that I represent. I sent an email as soon as I got the picture of their map and said, you guys have disenfranchised the poorest people in Atlanta, which is the community I represent. Gina, reapportionment office, she corrected their map, but they sent it back saying, oh, we forgot, not we forgot, but we have 2 commissioners that moved and they have not corrected their addresses. So she had to correct that map. You and I know what happens, committee members, if a map is not certified by the reapportionment office in time. The county would be in violation of federal law, the 14th Amendment, 1 person, 1 vote clause. Fulton's population has changed dramatically, especially in South Fulton. There were approximately 75 people here yesterday. Some of them I see have come back. They took off of work to say they are in concurrence with the map I presented because it keeps their community of South Fulton whole. Mayors of South Fulton, they said they were going to come to the press conference and support the bill. Colleagues called them over the weekend, bullying them, telling them, don't you dare come. But guess what? They had already written letters of support, which the committee has. The elections are less than 90 days away. I thought Fulton submitted a map yesterday because I got a text message saying they submitted a map yesterday. This morning, once again, there was still not a map. But as of today, right now, as I'm speaking, They do not have a map that has even had a first reader. They do not have a map, which is why I'm not even sure what the problem is. If Fulton has a map, where is it? This first map that they presented, they never got back to reapportionment office, and said, okay, this is the map that we would like to present. Never. Fulton is in no position at this point to say foul play, to say this is a Democrat-Republican issue, to say this is a white or black issue. They can't even say this is a North-South Fulton issue. There actually is no issue because there's no map they have presented. The only map in the General Assembly for the House of Representatives is this map here. You're going to hear from several people. You're going to hear from, I'm sure, several commissioners. Let's take a look at the map. The maps closest to me in the purple, that is the South Fulton map. Right now, it's represented by Commissioner Khadijah Abdur Rahman. If you look at the map, her district goes from West Fulton over to East Fulton, down the west corridor of West Fulton, and then all of South Fulton. And guess what? She lives nowhere where the majority of her district is. She doesn't even live there, but yet that's the way her map looks. Just because it was like that 10 years ago, does that mean it should continue to look like that? Fulton County, if you look at the very districts 1 and 2 at the very top, the ones closest towards me, districts 1 and 2, that is what Fulton County presented, okay? Remember, Fulton County presented a map with several precincts split. The map I have only has 3 precincts split at this moment. They had nearly 30 precincts split. There's a rumor going around that a Republican wrote this map. A Republican did not write this map. I repeat, a Republican did not write this map. This woman in the corner, I spent more than 10 hours. I don't know how many hours I spent with her. I wrote the map. I am a Democrat. And you know, when I started to write the map, the moment I got off of the Zoom call on January 21st, because after that Zoom call, I realized that Fulton County was not going to get a map in time. And I was correct. The only collaboration that I did with Republicans, remember, we are at the deadline. You see the little lip in districts 1 and 2 at the very top. The lip has changed. The lip has changed. That's the only collaboration from a Republican. The next thing I want to bring to your attention, we have population summaries. In these population summaries, we have demographics. We have who won in the Trump election, who won in the Biden election, who won in the Kemp election versus Stacey Abrams. We also have who won in the Public Service Commission elections. Why is it important for us to look at the Public Service Commission? Because that is the one office, statewide office, that's not sensationalized. It gives the most accurate view of what that district is. Every single district, because Fulton County is a Democratic county, every single district has the majority Democrat position in it. It's a Democratic map. One of the first people you're going to hear from, Commissioner Kadisha Abdur Rahman. She's going to tell you several things. One, when we got the population data November 2021, while we were here during special election, Fulton County got the same information. They were supposed to be drawing their maps. They went to Commissioner Khadijah, and they said, here's the map. Do you like it? When she looked at it, they drew her out of her own district. She said, I'm not even in this district. Okay, so sorry about that. We're gonna get back to you on that. Sorry about that. December, she never heard from them again. January, she still did not hear from them. Each commissioner at this point represents almost 175,000 people. Fulton County completely ignored 175,000 people in South Fulton by not communicating with Commissioner Abdur Rahman. January 13th, I believe, she sent an email to Fulton County and said, where is the map? Last time I saw the map, you guys had me written out of my district. I was in a district with Commissioner Natalie Hall. They told her she was going to have to run against Commissioner Natalie Hall, even though she was just elected a year ago. You cannot take the vote of 175,000 people and say, we changed our mind. She can no longer be your elected official. That's just not how it works. January 13th, she sent an email to Fulton County. Fulton County got back with her on January 19th. That was when they had their Board of Commissioners meeting. If you look at the Board of Commissioners meeting, it took about 9 minutes. They voted on their map in about 9 minutes. In fact, one of the commissioners said, come on, hurry up, let's vote. A 9-minute vote. Did Fulton County go into the community and show anybody their maps? No. Now this Fulton County map is much different than the other counties. Cobb County, there's a Gwinnett map, there's a Democratic map. So there's bickering. Gwinnett County, there's a Democratic map, there's a Republican map, bickering. What is the difference in this scenario? There's no map, and then there's a map. Let's go back to January 19th when they had their Board of Commissioners meeting. At that meeting, they gave the public 3 options, map A, B, and C. I'm going to start with maps B and C. Maps B and C had Commissioner Abdur Rahman not even in her district, which means there was only one map. So when Fulton County sent a letter over to the Fulton County delegation saying there was a unanimous vote, of course there was a unanimous vote because she did not want to be written out of her district. People are saying the map looks so different. For the record, one part of the middle map, the green part and the yellow part are almost identical, except maybe 1 or 2 precincts. It's still a majority Democratic precinct, over 60% Democrat. The only way to change the map, to make it compact, to keep communities of interest together, is to draw it the way I did. There's a East Fulton version because guess what? There's a commissioner that lives in East Fulton. There's a South Fulton version. Guess what? There's a commissioner that lives in South Fulton. There's a West version of West Fulton. Guess what? Because there's a commissioner that lives in West Fulton. The timeline. There has been said that I did not communicate with the party. We have a leadership. We have leadership. The Fulton delegation, we have a chairman of that party. Everything on this timeline, and this is in small print, 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages, another half a page. I have text messages and emails for every single piece of this communication. I was completely transparent with the leadership. They chose not to share the information with the rest of the delegation. It's not my position as a member of the delegation to tell the delegation what I'm doing. I thought that was the chairman's responsibility. So when he saw me in the hallway, thank you for doing the work. I appreciate you for drawing the map. Can you please fix the South Fulton area? There were emails going around from the Fulton County Commission saying, Representative Dreyer is doing our maps for us. He is on it. He is on it. Representative Dreyer is doing our maps. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think Representative Dreyer stepped foot in the reapportionment office and helped with the map. I could be wrong, but Fulton County thought they had someone helping them draw the map. The person that was drawing the map for Fulton County was me. I said to the delegation, you know what? I will withdraw my map if you guys can present a map in time. The date that we were given was February the 7th. First, it was February the 1st. Chairman Tankersley extended the deadline for local maps to February 7th. Last Thursday, I presented a map. Because of pride and ego, people were upset because they didn't have a map. It really has nothing to do with me. At the end of the day, there is not a map. And Chairman, yield to the next speaker.
Okay, if you would hold, you have a moment. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Representative Bernal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I realize that we are all individual members. We're all elected by our own constituents. How many members are in your delegation?
The Democratic caucus that
No,
requires the amount of signatures, it's 14.
Okay. So you were not able to work out of 14 people, you could not work with any of them? I just find it hard when one individual brings up an issue and you're in a delegation that you all could not work together to agree.
So I went to the delegation and they said, we want to wait on Representative Dreyer.
Are there any parts of your map that are split?
I have 3 precincts split in the entire county, and my map is less than 1% deviation. I'll refer to reapportionment so she can say the 3 precincts. And I believe 11B is one of the precincts because of the way the precinct is drawn. There's a single point of continuity that made it difficult to not split it.
So if you look at the line between districts 5 and 6, there's one precinct there where an incumbent lives, and precinct 11B, that precinct also has a strange line. The new geography created a point contiguity issue. So that precinct is divided. And then in North Fulton, you've got one precinct split on the side between 1 and 2 in Roswell. And then there's another precinct in Roswell split. I think it's 05. It's hard to read the labels on here, along a major roadway there. So those are the 3, 2 up at the top, and then the 1 between 5 and 6. If that's the one here, that's along Mansell Road. No, it's just geographic. Very oddly shaped. It curves up and then has a really strange part at the top, kind of like a fountain. So to make the district compact and to use a good feature there, that's why that line is there. And I think that may have been a split that was similar on the draft that was presented before on the imported map.
Okay, I was just trying to make sure that the communities of interest were not split.
Right. No, this is just on a major roadway because of the shape and the unusual shape of the precinct, really.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I don't see any other questions, and we do have a number of members of the committee that are online. So our next speaker is Commissioner Kadisha Abdur Rahman. If you would come to the podium.
Good afternoon. I am Commissioner Kadisha Abdur Rahman of the Mighty Six District in Fulton County. I'm here today to present to you what happened because it happened to me. First of all, I want to apologize on behalf of Fulton County because I represent Fulton County. Even though I represent District 6, I am accountable to all of the Fulton County taxpaying citizens. Fulton County dropped the ball on this. Facts. The reason I say they're facts, how do you exclude a member of the commission who had the largest, now me and Lee Morris of District 3, we had the largest population increase, maybe a difference of a few. But because I took on so many because of the 2020 census, then it was incumbent on me to shed constituents. I received an actual email from Jessica Corbett with the External Affairs Department to have a briefing about the maps. That was in November. Myself, my chief of staff, and my special assistant sat in on this meeting. They explained to me how the reapportionment process works and what would need to happen. When they showed me the map had me in Commissioner Natalie Hall's district. I was not in my district. I immediately brought this to the attention of Jessica Corbett with External Affairs, and she says, "Oops, I apologize, Commissioner. That shouldn't have happened. We'll redo it." So the bulk of the conversation was two different ideas for how the map could be written, was given to her and the staff that was actually on the call. And I was told that they would get back to me. This was in November. I never heard back from Jessica Corbett or External Affairs until January 13th, after I sent a letter to our county commissioner. I sent an email stating, where are the maps? Our county manager, Dick Anderson, emailed me and said, "Commissioner, this is so sensitive that I have purposely stayed out of it." However, he began to CC other individuals. Never reached out to me, never said anything to me. We come up to, I believe it was 2 days before the Board of Commissioners meeting in January. I received copies of Map A, of which I am in that district, of Map B, and of Map C. Map B and C were either me and Commissioner Arrington changing numbers or changing maps. My office reached out to the county manager's, the county attorney's office. Now, mind you, this is 24 hours, really less, because we got the answer back the night before the meeting. I was told by the county attorney that if I go with map B or C, that I would have to run again against Commissioner Arrington. This is the information that was given to me from Fulton County Attorney's Office. So therefore, when I saw map A, that's why I chose map A. Because it was the only map that, one, had me written in, and two, would not have required for me to run again, which at the state is when I found out that that was incorrect information. So technically, I was really only given one choice. Now, when the delegation, the Fulton delegation met, and I began to see some problems in the map that I voted on, because you will hear that the commissioners voted unanimously on a map. But it was a map that I was given no other choice to vote for except map A. When I brought this to the attention of the chair of the Fulton delegation that Friday morning before the meeting, he stated to me, after I told him I had been left out the process, nobody has met with me, nobody has said anything to me. He first apologized. Then he tells me that Commissioner Natalie Hall, Commissioner Arrington was working on the map and led him to believe that I was part of the process. He apologized. I haven't been a part of the process. I've been excluded from it. Nevertheless, I brought it to the attention of the delegation on the delegation Zoom meeting of what has happened. Jessica Corbett stated during that Zoom, we apologize. We will get back to you. We will make sure we take care of it. That was at the Fulton delegation meeting. I have not had one meeting, one phone call. What I had was an email sent to me much later, I want to say maybe around the 28th of January, that said, staff has looked at Commissioner Khadijah's concern about the map and has rectified it. Nobody has had a conversation with Commissioner Khadijah. No one. No one has sat down with me. No one. But on their own, the staff rectified my concerns. This is per the email that was sent to me. And so what I say to you today, because I really don't want to belabor the point, I think the evidence that you will see, my goal is to not disenfranchise almost 200,000 voters in South Fulton County.
Thank you. We appreciate your bringing all this forward. It's good information for us to have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, we have several representatives that I've asked to speak. Representative Roger Bruce, you'll come to the podium.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. And I'm not here really to speak to the substance of that bill. I'm more concerned about the process. And I've been down here going on 20 years. And this is not the first time I've gone through reapportionment. And it's always been a situation where this was local legislation. And, you have disagreements in the delegations all the time. Some of us, I represent Cobb County, I represent Fulton County, I represent Douglas County, and there's, conflict in all of them. And what you do is you talk it out. You try to figure out, okay, what is the problem? And let's try to solve the problem and you move forward. That does not appear to be what happened in this case. Now, I don't know who was supposed to contact who. But when I found out what was going on, I did contact the commissioner. And we tried to come up with a map that I thought satisfied what her concerns were. She told me that she wasn't sure that it did satisfy her concerns and that she would get back to me, which did not happen. She did not get back to me. I also talked to the other two commissioners that were impacted by what was going on. One of them said, you know, I don't like it, but I can live with it if it's gonna make everybody else happy. And the other one said, I just don't like it. So my response to that was, okay, well, I'm out of this. You know, I don't need to be in the middle of it. I'm gonna just let them work it out. But the bottom line to it is that the delegation is here to represent the people in this whole area. And I just don't think that that was the process that was being utilized. And if we have a situation where your process is not being utilized, it causes confusion. And that's why we're all here right now, because it caused a lot of confusion and people were trying to figure out, okay, what map are we dealing with? What map are we not dealing with? And just to kind of sum it up, there was a map, from my understanding, and I know the commissioner is going to be speaking in a minute, there was a map that was sent over, and it was sent over in time. Now, if it didn't meet all the standards, if it didn't do all of the things it was supposed to do, then you get together and you fix that, and you move forward. You don't go around it. You fix what the problem is. And I'm going to stop and let others, because there's a lot of people who want to talk. But the bottom line is, I think that had we followed the process, we would not be here now with the confusion.
Thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
sharing your thoughts. Next to speak will Representative Derek Jackson, if you'd come to the podium. You want to speak from there?
No. My recommendation is to allow for the commissioners to speak. We gave you a line.
I'm going down and letting the representative speak first.
Right, but the reason why it's important is because that's the reason why we're in this conundrum now. When the Board of Commissioners speak first, I think it will add.
You need to go to a microphone because it's got to be recorded. I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity. I'm the Vice Chair of the Fulton County Delegation. It's imperative to allow for the Board of Commissioners to speak first. The reason why, ma'am, is because that's the reason why we need to add clarity before we, the delegation, come up. It will allow for your august body to discern why are we here. And that's the reason why we submitted the lineup the way we did, because it will allow for the commissioners and their staff to present these maps and how we got here, and then we'll add our
Okay.
summary afterwards.
I see Chairman Rob Pitts. You want him to speak next?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Chairman Pitts, if you'd come forward to the podium.
All right, Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for this opportunity. I was asked to stop by today to put into context and really clear the record about what's going on. I've been around for some time and I've never seen reapportionment take the turn that it's taken this time around. And I don't know how many of you were here the last time we went through this. I'll just give you a little bit of history before I make the points as to what really happened. The last time that this happened, there were 7 county commissioners. There were 2 at-large. The chairman's position was called District 1. The second at-large position was called District 2, and there were 5 districts. After debate here at the Capitol, they were renumbered, but we still have 7. The chairman's position became district number 7. That's not the point here. The point is that second district number 2, which was at large, was my position. My position was eliminated altogether. So I know how this works. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. No matter what we do at the commission level, the General Assembly is the final arbiter in this process. That's just factual. So with that in mind, I want to put that from a historical perspective point of view. But going back to, we talked about this on January 19th, rather. We had this issue before us at our full commission meeting. And as been stated earlier, there were 3 maps. And one other thing I need to state, I really don't have a dog in this fight because I represent the entire county. But at that meeting, there were 3 maps, which I thought was unusual, but there were 3 maps presented. And in the final analysis, after debate and hearing from the public, it was almost unanimous from the public. And in fact, there was a unanimous vote by the Board of Commissioners. 7 members voted yes, not 1 member voted no. All voted in favor of map A. That's the map that was sent to the General Assembly in a timely manner. Now, changes or problems or whatever happened once it got here, I have no knowledge of that. But the point is, we submitted a map to the General Assembly in a timely manner, and it was map A that was approved unanimously by the Board of Commissioners. At our next meeting on February 2nd, there was a discussion item before us. When I looked at the agenda, I did not understand why that was even on the agenda, since we had already approved map A, sent it here again in a timely manner, and we're waiting for some directions from the state. So after that was discussed for about less than 5 minutes, we made a motion, at least I made a motion to file it. Under our rules, that simply means to throw it in the trash can. That vote was unanimous. So that brings us to where we are today. I've not analyzed the maps, who's who, who's where, none of that. But my only point today is to say to you and your committee that we did our job. We voted unanimously for a map that was labeled map A, and that was submitted to this body in a timely manner. And you are the final arbiter in this matter. So no matter what we do, and the final analysis is going to be up to this body. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Next, okay, we have a question.
Oh, yes, I just wanted to know, thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to know who drew the map A.
I do not know who drew map A.
I'd like to know, is map A the one that is up there on the left?
I have no idea, ma'am.
Okay,
Map A was labeled map A, and that was what was transmitted from the Board of Commissioners from Fulton County to the Georgia General Assembly.
all right, thank you. All right, next to speak is Representative David Dreyer. They would like to postpone their speaking until after the other commissioners. I'll call up Commissioner Marvin Arrington, if you would come to the podium.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you. My name is Marvin Arrington Jr., Fulton County Commissioner for District 5. And I'm here today to, I guess, ask you all to go with the map that was submitted by the Fulton delegation, which is the map that was submitted and approved unanimously by the commissioners. I've heard so many falsehoods that I really don't know how to respond. Our map was adopted unanimously by all 7 commissioners. There was even a change in the map that was proposed because I asked Commissioner Rahman, could precinct 12A, constituents from precinct 12A had called me and said that they wanted to stay in my district and that they saw that they would no longer be in my district. And I asked Commissioner Rahman at the meeting, could we make that change? And she agreed, and we made that change. And so just as I had the opportunity to make a change at the meeting, she had the opportunity to make a change at the meeting. To hear someone come up here and say, I never heard back from them. Well, guess what I do when I don't hear back from someone? I pick up the phone and call them myself. I don't just sit around and wait for somebody to call me. If it's important business that needs to be done, you get on it and you handle it. And so to have someone sit up here and say that they waited and they never heard back, well, that means that they weren't interested. That means they weren't interested if they never heard back and they never followed up. Since the call with the Zoom delegation, I have personally called Commissioner Rahman over 7 times, have not received one return phone call or anything from her. They do not want to participate in the process. They don't want to, they don't work well with others. Representative Maynard comes up with her own map. What if all the commissioners and all of the members of the delegation came up with their own maps? What if we had 44 different maps for Fulton County? What sense would that make? Why would you do that? Why would you circumvent the process? Why would you go off in a corner and not work with the masses? We have everyone in Fulton County, all 7 commissioners agreed on the map. Now later we hear from Commissioner Rahman that she didn't agree on it and she didn't get to participate in it. She did participate in it. Not only that, she approved the change to the map. So what we did in crafting our map was to try to keep the districts nearly where they were. There's no way to stop or a split in a community. The districts as they exist now, there's a street called Stonewall Tail. And on one side of Stonewall Tail is District 5, my district. On the other side of Stonewall Tail, all the way down to the end of the county is District 6, Commissioner Rahman. The district does do a loop. That's the way it is. Our attempt in submitting the map was to keep the districts as much intact as possible. I've never represented the citizens. I've never had the honor of representing the citizens or directly representing the citizens of Palmetto and Chattahoochee Hills, because that's in District 6. So the intent was to not disenfranchise the voters of East Point, to not disenfranchise the voters of City of Atlanta and of Southwest Atlanta, to maintain those constituents' districts and their representation as they wanted. And also to maintain Commissioner Rahman's District 6 the way as much as possible as could be done. As she stated, she had more growth, so she probably had to give up a little bit more. But we were completely transparent throughout the process. There was an opportunity, more than one opportunity to change. And as soon as I heard Commissioner Rahman say that there was a problem on the delegation meeting, I reached out to her and called her and said, hey, what's the problem? How do we figure this out? How can we make this work? But rather than working with the rest of the delegation, rather than working with the rest of the commission, Representative Maynard and Commissioner Rahman chose to go off in a corner and work with themselves. Everyone else is on board. Everyone else is on the same page. Representative Maynard has a personal vendetta against me. She has filed ethics charges against me and bar charges, and they've been dismissed because they were frivolous.
Excuse me, we're not getting into, this committee runs on decorum. We're not making accusations. If you would please keep this to the facts.
Yes, ma'am, those are the facts. The charges were dismissed and they were frivolous. So I'll conclude with that. Everyone is on board except for Maynard and Rahman, and those 2 people should not be allowed to craft the district for an entire county of 1 million people.
Thank you. Next to speak will be Commissioner Natalie Hall. Thank you. Please take the podium. No. I would like to know that people standing in the back, you can come forward and take some of those seats. So you don't have to be standing. Please come forward. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. First of all, I want to address the fact about the maps and the process, because I think as Representative Misha Maynor and Commissioner Khadijah Abdul Rahman mentioned in their YouTube video that they are freshmen and they are new, and perhaps they just don't understand the process. Perhaps there are, parts of this that are getting a little misconstrued because they are new. So I want to address this. First of all Fulton County commissioners received the same 3 maps at the same time. When I personally received mine, I said, okay, Jessica Corbett is our intergovernmental affairs manager. She's the one who sent everything over to us. And I just simply said, I would like for my district to stay similar to what it is. I know that I'm the 3rd largest growing district in Fulton County, next to Commissioner Abdul Rahman and Commissioner Lee Morris, but I want my district to at least stay similar because I had been receiving phone calls and text messages from my constituents saying, please do not get rid of us. And so it was important to me to do that. And then at the Fulton County Board of Commissioners meeting on January 19th, there were literally constituents who showed up to speak on behalf of the map. We had not only shared that map with all the commissioners, we shared it with the public. So the president of Inman Park came with some of the other residents to speak and say they wanted to literally be in my district, and for reasons that they spoke to me about. There has been no disenfranchisement of anyone. You can see that it is very hard to draw a map and not split some of the precincts, as you can tell by the map that Commissioner Kadisha and Misha Maynor have also created. I also want to reference an email because Commissioner Abdul Rahman is saying that she wasn't part of the process, that she wasn't included, but she actually sent this email out to all her constituents saying that, and I will read it directly. After talking with many constituents in District 6, we have determined proposed new Map A is the best choice to preserve your current representation on the commission. Here's how to speak. And it went on to tell them how to come to the Board of Commissioners meeting on January 19th and to plead for A, which many of them did. No one on the Board of Commissioners was eliminated from the process. We were all given the same 3 maps. And I also want to address, because I have the option C that Commissioner Abdul Rahman is speaking about. She was not drawn into anyone else's district on this map, as she stated, as far as option B and C that were presented to all of us on the Board of Commissioners. This map shows her clearly within the lines of her district. The only thing that changed was the district number. And if you look at the map that Representative Maynor has provided, you will see what they spoke of in their YouTube video as neighborhoods being split and disenfranchising residents. If you look clearly, you can see that they have gone straight across in front of my house to barely draw me into my district, at the same time splitting up the Washington Park neighborhood. That is completely opposite of what they said they wanted in the YouTube video. They said they wanted to keep neighborhoods intact. That is not keeping a neighborhood intact when you split straight through one. So I don't know. I think there's just a little bit confusion from maybe being new. I also want to reference the statement about the 2 commissioners with an address change and my name was brought up. My address had been changed. My voter registration card has my correct address and I voted at my correct precinct. It was also changed at the county. I don't know how my address was incorrect at the county. When I saw that my address was incorrect, I actually contacted Jessica and Jessica corrected it immediately. There was nothing that changed the maps as it relates to where I live. And let me make sure I'm just covering everything because there's a lot of things that I think are just from being new. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. We have several members of the public and several people on Zoom that would like to speak. Let's see, Jessica Corbett. Are you here? Okay, do you want to come now? All right, be sure. Actually, Representative Jackson, you were signed up first. I thought y'all wanted to go to the very end.
Madam Chair,
You
I
have a
think that,
question?
yes, there's a Michael Cohen here for Commissioner Haussmann's district. I don't know if you want him to speak.
He'll need to sign up.
Is Mr. O'Cohen, did you sign up to speak? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging us. And the reason why it was important, again, for those who don't know, I'm Derek Jackson. I'm the Vice Chair of Fulton County Delegation. I'm also the Vice Chair of the largest Black caucus in the nation. But the reason why it was important for us to allow for the commissioners to speak before us was because there was some clarity that they added before myself and the chairman gets up here and speak. And so I just want to make 3 points, if it's okay, Madam Chair. The first one is communications. There are 25 representatives that represent Fulton County, 19 Democrats, 6 Republicans. It's important for you to know that number. 19 Democrats, 6 Republicans.
Do you know how many commissioners you have in the Fulton County? What's the total number of commissioners?
Yes, so you have 6 districts, 6 commissioners, and then 1 at large for a total of 7.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
And so when you think about that composition, Madam Chair, the reason why that's important because 19 Democrats that represents Fulton County would never, ever allow for anyone to be disenfranchised. Period, end of story. Period, end of story. This is not about politics. Not about politics. In today's political theater, we would not allow for someone to be disenfranchised. There were no communication. And when that communication was brought to us, as it was already stated on that Zoom meeting in January, and when the word disenfranchised came up, we were like, all stop. And that's when the commissioners went back to regroup, because when they gave us that one map, which is map A, which Gina, I believe is the first one, correct? And so that one looks familiar to me. And the reason why I'm highlighting that is because the word that we received, Madam Chair, was South Fulton was disenfranchised. And because I represent 4 of those cities down there, I wanted to make sure that nobody was being disenfranchised. And so I call up the mayors. So I don't want nobody pointing fingers or saying that I put anybody under the bus. When I learned that the mayors were called, I then called them, because that's what we should do, is to communicate, make sure that there are no loose ends. The second part I want to highlight, Madam Chair, is this, and it was already articulated about the process. This is my first one. This is my 3rd term, but my first time being part of redistricting, reapportionment. And so just like anyone else, being that this is your first time, you seek counsel, you get advice for those who've been through this process before to learn the pros and cons, if you will. And so just like anyone else, although I've been up here nearly 6 years, I wanted to understand this whole process. So we had calls with Gina. She educated us. She explained to us about the timeline and things that should be done. The reason why that's important, Madam Chair, is this, because before it gets to the state level, we have to hear from the people. In this case, the Board of Commissioners, school boards, mayors, council, and get their input. And so that way we're not operating under the gold dome in a vacuum, much like what you do in your district. And so we did the same thing. 19, again, Democrats, 6 Republicans. And so that's the second point here. The third and final point is this, and I'll certainly yield for the chair. It is disappointing that we have opinions that are conveyed to be factual. That's problematic for me when I come from a place of honor and integrity. And just today, we talked about dignity in the House chamber. And as a retired naval officer, I find it disturbing when those of us who are elected, who simply use other elected names to suit their personal objective or subjective points. And so I just want to make sure that the mayors are not here. They did not show up to the press conference. It wasn't because they were not bullied. That is not correct. That is not correct. No one was bullied in this process when we were talking about the mayors, because I personally called these mayors. And the mayors told me, one in particular said, that is not true. I'm not showing up because my name was used incorrectly. In that press conference, nobody authorized, the mayors did not authorize for their names to be used. And so we have to talk about the facts up here. We got to talk about truth and not subjectivity and not personal vendettas. And so the reason why you do not see 19 Democrats sign on to our colleague's bill, because it was wrong. We should not change the bill that comes from Board of Commissioners. They're elected too. They're closer to the people than we are. And so we adopted the maps the one map that they sent up here to us. And then that's when we go to work. But when we learned that there was a perception of disenfranchised, that's when we did the right thing and said, all stop. Let's discuss and start from ground zero.
Thank you very much. Representative Dreyer.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for taking time to hear everyone out today. I wish we'd have been able to handle this, but you know, we are where we are. So thank you so much for taking the time. I'm in my 4th year as chair of this delegation. First thing I do think I need to say is I've never had my character impugned down here. I've had a couple representatives mad at me after floor speeches, but it's been a few years. But I've also never impugned anyone's character, and I'm not gonna do that today. I do want to talk about this process. First, objections to the map were January 18th, and I'm actually not blaming the representative for raising the objections at that time. The process for getting us the maps was pretty slow. Should have been better. There's no question about it. After that, I did ask the representative that's sponsoring this bill if she would take a look at giving me some ideas for improving that area in South Fulton, which was the issue, but to please not touch any other areas of Fulton County. While that was going on, well, a few days later, Ms. Wright and the Reinforcement Office, which has just been terrific, and I can't imagine all the things they're juggling and the stress, and they've done such a good job, but they worked on just fixing what Fulton County had given us to reduce the population deviation And they were able to get that under 1% and to make sure that there weren't as many split precincts. And they were able to get it down to 4 split precincts. So as that was going on, unfortunately, days were ticking away. And then I had heard that someone, this current bill was being taken around to different people for signatures. But I had not had the chance to see a PDF file that was downloaded and have it analyzed. We did do that pretty quickly, but it wasn't complete at that point. I really want to get to where we are now. What maps are there that can go through the General Assembly this session that will govern the Fulton County Commission, which I think is a concern for every member of the General Assembly. I know it's a concern for this committee, and I know it's a concern for intergovernmental cooperation. Okay, to make sure that we comply with the February 10th deadline, which Mr. Doss had provided me about 2 weeks ago, we submitted a bill yesterday. That bill was able to be submitted because it was noticed with the affidavit that could apply to a couple different things, but certainly Fulton County Board of Commission redistricting.
Is that the map on the left? Or is it a different map? Are you talking about the map right there, or is there another map out there?
Yeah, no, there is another map. And let me tell you what that map does. Ms. Wright took the Board of Commission map, which is no longer being considered at any place in this General Assembly.
The one on the left?
Yes.
Okay.
And she corrected that map so that there was population deviation under 1%, pretty significantly under 1%, and repaired most of the split precincts except for 4. At that point, and this happened early last week, Senator Albers had said he was going to introduce a map and started sharing it around, which took the work that Ms. Wright did, and it made 2 small changes to District 1 and District 2, which are the red and the blue in the top, okay? We, as a delegation, looked at that and also know, we know the situation. We know that we also have to get Speaker Pro Tem, who lives in Fulton County, and other people on board if possible, and certainly not strongly objecting. So we said, we are fine with Senator Albert's proposal for that map. We'll take it as it is. Senator Albert did the same thing last week, though. He submitted a placeholder, just like we did, which went with the bulk one.
Okay. We're talking about a map that's not here. We can't view it. I don't know the differences. Do I need to wait until I see that senator's bill before you go any further and let that go through the process when it gets here?
Yes, Your Honor. And let me just, and I'm happy to send it to you right now because we have it, but if I can tell you where those are, our bill has been substituted today too. So the Board of Commission with the request that Senator Albers asked is in intergovernmental cooperation. 1422 is no longer the bill it was. It is the maps that the Board of Commission is okay with it and Senator Albers okay with it. Senator Albers' map was substituted in, and it also passed out of the Senate today, and it's immediately transmitted to the House. So that map is available. It'll be available tonight when it uploads along with ours. But Madam Chair, I have that, and I'm able to email it to anyone. I don't have a colored printer in my in my office, so I tried to do that, but this process we're on.
Today, I'm
time.
talking about this bill.
Okay.
We'll cover that one. If it shows up in my committee, it may not come to my committee. So we will see what happens with that bill when it gets here. Let's get on with this bill.
Okay. I just wanted the chair to know that we're
Thank
not
you.
going to lose the opportunity to pass a map.
Thank you.
Look, there has been a consensus. There has been a majority of the delegation that has agreed on a map. And I want to say one thing. I'll say the final thing. My district changed a lot, and I lost a lot of areas that I really care about. I really love a lot of areas that was in my district and that changed. One of them is where my oldest kid goes to middle school, and my youngest will go to middle school. But I never said that it was my district during that process. and I never expected that I could control that process fully. I represent individuals at their will, and however that map is drawn, I have to ask those individuals permission for reelection and permission to represent them. So I'm disappointed in where we are, but I do want you to know that in addition to what's before you, the delegation process has been followed and a majority has approved it with their signatures. And but I do think if we could let the chair see the Senator Albert's proposal, it would help shine some light on this and make some sense.
Thank you. I appreciate that information.
Thank you.
All right, we have two representatives that are on Zoom. Representative Marie Metz, if you'd like to speak, please unmute. All right, she's not responding. Let's see, Representative Sheila Jones, if you will unmute. Okay, neither one are responding.
Okay, I'm driving and I didn't know that I was gonna be called and asked to do something.
Okay, please.
I'm trying to answer while I merge over. I support the map that's been submitted by Representative Maynard. And I don't know what your question is, that's what you're asking me.
If you don't have anything else, you don't have to, that's fine. If you
Okay.
want. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And we did not hear from Representative Metz. So we will go to those here today on the floor. And this is going to be a long meeting, so we're going to try to condense this. We'd like to see that everybody has an opportunity to speak. So we will have a strict 3 minutes for each person to come and speak. And I think we have one mayor that has been identified, Mayor Mario Avery, if you would like to come to the podium.
Madam Chair, how you doing today, and members of the board? I just want to just come up here as a point of clarity. I'm almost embarrassed the fact that as a mayor, it was alleged that we were bullied. Mayors are elected to run cities. I was never bullied. No, I'm standing in the back of the room like just in total disbelief that that statement would even be made. I'm almost at the same time, I know several mayors that I've talked to as it relates to this process. Again, I'm here I'm here, one of the mayors that did a comment that was made, a letter submitted, but the letter was submitted, and I want to bring, I think it's my obligation to bring a form of clarity. The letter was written, and here's the things that the letter was not supposed to do. The letter was not supposed, in this case, to create chaos in this process for the Fulton County Board of Commission in the state of Georgia. As a former mayor of 8 years with major successes, many of you have been through the city of Fairburn, it is imperative right now that I come here and make sure it's understood. Again, I'm here because now, unfortunately, myself and several mayors, and I won't speak for the others, but I'll just say one in particular, one mayor mentioned that we have to work with both Democrats and Republicans on the Fulton County Board of Commissioners and the state of Georgia. I have relationships, very strong relationship in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party as a Democratic mayor. And so I'm just amazed that I'm standing here today because, again, we didn't come to the conference because, again, one of the things that me and one other mayor agreed to, we don't need to create any more dissension. That's what apparently is happening. I'm listening in this room. We've got a job to do as a mayor, and one of those jobs does not include us becoming a roadblock in this particular process. And like I said, I'm standing here just totally almost in shock with some of the things I've heard. My letter was intended to be used, was not intended to be used. It wasn't a form of anger or any type of malice or anything like that. It was an opinion, And again, I have an opinion as relates to the process, but one of the things I do understand is that as a mayor that responsible and was elected with 62% of the vote of my city recently, we have to bring out the mayors. In this case, in our case, we have conversations with each other as it relates to situations like this. Most of the time, we elect to stay out of the limelight or stay out of the conflict between the Board of Commissioners. And that's just not Fulton County. I'm a member of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. That's a rule or regulation that we make a point. We stay out of the rules. So whatever the map ends up being, we actually end up being a representative of all those people. The map was approved by Fulton County Board. Again, I actually was watching the meeting. It was approved unanimously. What went on behind the scenes that brought you to that level has nothing that is totally irrelevant, immaterial to the mayor. That's your business at the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, not ours. We have to respond once it's approved and once we move forward. Finally, my hope is that as having dealt with state representatives, again, Sharon Beasley was one of my dear friends. One of the things that I'm hoping is that what we don't end up ever happening again is that we end up having a press conference where my name, again, not told, in all fairness, I was told partially what the issue was, but I never was told that I would end up in a press conference. Never told I was end up in a press release. That's a courtesy that's normally answered by the state representative at the state of Georgia. I know, I dealt with Sharon Beasley T. One of the things, every time we got ready, Mr. Jackson, every time you got ready to mention our name, you had a conversation with us. And you're aware that I'm gonna mention your name. Is that okay? I'm just gonna ask you to give the same courtesy to me and the other mayors that are not happy that we're now being brought into the middle of a process that we normally sit back and wait, so that regardless of the outcome, we still, in this case, will have to work with Democrats and Republicans. And so in closing, I just want to say again, we're not here to defeat. I think I can speak for all four mayors that was mentioned in this situation. We're not here to sit here and try to determine what the outcome and whether the disenfranchisement and stuff like that. That's why the people in my city elected the state level governments and the county commission to bounce that out. What I am here to tell you is that at the end of the day, the mayors normally, let me just say this in closing, just for record's sake. As a member of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, one of the things that we were taught in the mayors in your city, in this case, in your county, we normally have a conversation with each other. So regardless of whatever position a mayor takes publicly, we are aware with the other mayors that will in total opposition or the ones in support. That didn't happen this time, and I'm a little disappointed.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. Next, we have Richard Rose, if you would come to the podium.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Richard Rose, President of the Atlanta NACP. The NACP is nonpartisan, so we don't get into fights between Democrats and Republicans. As it were, my district is larger than all of them. We cover the whole of Fulton County. Our concern is and continues to be that process, whatever process is in place, that we rely on in a democracy that is respected without regard to individuals. Every day I wake up in service without compensation is what I've chosen to do. But I've also chosen to support the processes that are in place, that we vote and that we expect that those people we vote for represent our interests, represent democracy, represent that what we learn in the Pledge of Allegiance, that we are one nation indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Liberty and justice cannot be respected if one or two individuals decide that they know better than the entire delegation, what of 19 Democrats and 6 Republicans. We stand on that principle. We are Americans. We expect full citizenship, full recognition as American citizens, and we absolutely deplore some of the things that have gone on in this building that disrespect principles and policies that have been in place for decades. We want to, on behalf of the NACP and the citizens of people of color of Fulton County. I'm here to say, not only in this issue, but in all issues, that whatever those processes are, they should be respected. The delegation should be respected so that we feel like we are a part of Georgia. And Georgia has issues. Georgia is home to the largest shrine of white supremacy in the history of the world. But we can still do better. Racism is the most divisive element in our society. And it should not be, again, exacerbated by grandstanding by anybody. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. Now I think we can go back to our original list, and that's Jessica Corbett. If you would like to come to the podium, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. Good afternoon. I'm Jessica Corbett. I'm the Director of External Affairs for Fulton County Government. I've been with Fulton County for 22 years, and I just wanted to provide a very brief update about the process that led us on the Fulton County side that has been discussed somewhat today. Excuse me, I'm a little out of breath this afternoon. In the fall of 2021, when we received census data, we began to meet with the Board of Commissioners and get their input. We have in our strategy office mapping software, and we're able to make updates so they could see in real time what maps would look like. So if there were errors and things like that, we could correct those in real time to provide a proposed map. Excuse me. Over the course of several months, we've received in our strategy team a lot of different updates, perspectives, points of view from commissioners, as you can imagine. In January, we began contact with Chairman Dreyer, who's the chair of our House delegation, about sponsoring the Fulton County redistricting map. We had had some preliminary discussion in December and November. In January 13th, we sent a memo to the Board of Commissioners with the 3 maps that have been discussed today and advised them that those would be prepared on the Board of Commissioners agenda for January 19th. And we also worked with to provide the legal notice and public notice of the draft maps, published the maps on our website for public input, and scheduled a public hearing for the January 19th Board of Commissioners meeting. At that meeting, as you've heard several times today, the Board of Commissioners unanimously recommended a map. At that time, they also adopted a resolution, and that vote signified a recommendation to the reapportionment office to begin a technical review. The next day, we provided that to Ms. Wright and her team. On January 20th, we packaged all the associated files. We had been in touch with her prior to that date to make sure we understood the process. And on the 20th, we submitted those to her office for review. At that time, after we submitted them to Ms. Wright, we also provided them to our entire delegation for input. On January 21st, we had a formal presentation of the map to the delegation, and that was when we started to hear some of the concerns that have been raised today. On January 28th, Ms. Wright provided us with feedback of the map. As discussed, there were 3 primary issues. One was population deviation among our districts. One was the number of split precincts, and one was the compactness of the districts. We asked her at that time to go ahead and submit a draft map that corrected those. And I just want to thank her publicly for all of her work, because I can only imagine how stressful her life has been over the last few months. On January 31st, we received that draft map from her. Representative Dreyer was involved. He was part of all of that communication, had committed to introducing our map. He asked us to provide Ms. Wright with all of the commissioners' home addresses to verify once again that they were in their correct addresses. After we submitted that, we learned that we had an error on one of those. We immediately provided that to Ms. Wright. And the next morning, she provided, actually the same day, she provided us with a corrected map, which we provided to our board the next morning. We have worked throughout this process with Chairman Dreyer. It is always my job to work collaboratively with all of the elected officials. That is literally part of my job description. And I think that I have been very proud that we achieved a bipartisan, unanimously approved map from our Board of Commissioners. The map that we received from Ms. Wright had been circulated. I believe that the map on my right here is very similar. There may be a few small changes. We, of course, at Fulton County are more aware, possibly than anywhere in the country, about the need to get these to our elections department so they can begin their work. So we are very hopeful and believe that we have followed the process throughout and are prepared to, again, it appears that there are now 3 pieces of legislation with proposed maps.
We need you to wrap it up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So that's all I have to add today, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. All right. You have a question? Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. All right. Next is going to be Sonia Ofcham. If you'd come, Sonia, if you'd come to the podium.
Good afternoon, ma'am, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. My name is Sonia Ofcham. First, let me say that I am a resident of Fulton County, Atlanta. I live in Buckhead. I'm very disappointed that our elected officials can't get this right. One is blaming newness on our officials. One is saying that they don't know who drew the map. I think that was our chairman. I don't know who drew the map, or I don't know which map it is. To me, that's embarrassing as our leaders of this county. I'm here to say that I support HB 1199 that Representative Maynor has put out for Fulton County. It maintains communities of interest and whole and provides geographic compactness. It also takes into accord with the 2020 census. It's obvious that Fulton County dropped the ball, but communities of concern would like for you to make this right by supporting HB 1199. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you. Next to speak will be Levy Durham.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a resident of Fulton County, city of East Point. I work in Atlanta, and I am also disappointed that this was not solved before now. Our government works based on representation. We don't rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our systems. That's a quote from James Cleary from Atomic Habits. If we don't have the systems in place, the law is clear. It's the census data. It's not, I like you, I've been representing you for a while, I'm close with you. It's the census data. So that conversations are happening about representation around comfort and camaraderie. That is nice, but I would rather a freshman representative who is willing to stand up to make sure the job is done right than to sit and go along to get along, because that's not what I elect anyone for. So thank you, Representative Maynor, for your map, for your work, and Commissioner Abdul, Abdul Rahman for your work as well. I'm in support of Bill 1199. Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be Malika Wakman.
Good afternoon. I'm going to keep this very brief. I believe that those that were tasked with creating the map at the county level have demonstrated poor follow-through. An example of this was displayed today when the chairman of Fulton County, Rob Pitts, admitted that he didn't know who created the map.
Can you take your map down because we really can't
Sorry,
hear you? I'm
my
sorry.
apologies.
Thank you.
I will start over really quickly. I believe that those who are tasked with creating the map at the county level have demonstrated poor follow-through. An example of this was displayed today when the chairman of Fulton County, Rob Pitts, admitted that he didn't know who created the map, nor did he mention any other maps being submitted to the state. Therefore, I support Representative Mainer's map because it keeps communities of interest that were initially split whole and compact. Her map takes into account the 2020 census, and this map will keep Fulton County and the state of Georgia from potential litigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be Walendin Sabri. Excuse my pronunciation.
Good evening, Madam Chair,
Thank you.
esteemed members and representatives and dear public. My name is Wali Udeen Abdul Sabir. It has been pointed out numerous times that there's a newness in representation. And I would say if the Representative Maynard timeline is accurate, it is even more reason to take that in consideration, because there's a lot of things that does not line up if that is true. And I'll be very brief because the point has been made. And I will say in conclusion that process, we understand process. The law of 1710 was a part of the process. And that process was the meritorious manumission. So we understand process. And all the time, process is not in the interest of the people. So I would say here, I'm here in support of House Bill 1199, because I think, again, it keeps communities of interest, intact. And I do know that even though the character of these representatives is being questioned, they are honorable people. So I will end at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next would be Jennifer Bryce. Is Jennifer Bryce here or outside? Okay. I don't see Jennifer Bryce here. Okay, thank you. If you'd come to the podium. Thank you.
Pleased to be here, madam, and greetings to everyone. Oh,
you're better.
Oh, no. Yes, greetings. I'm here to represent a lady that I have grown very close to. And when I heard the problem, I asked her if there's any way that I could help or what could I do? And the conclusion I came to and that she gave me is like one map, one vote, and keeping the communities together. And it sounds great. And it sounds like a workable program and a workable plan. And after I got in here, I heard this and that and this. My heart just broke. I'm just hoping and praying in some way that you all can pull this all together and that we all can stay united. And if we all come together at one time with all of us together, rather than just one person coming and talking and another person coming and talk, to unify and to sit down and to solve this, to there's a peace where we as the people can feel so comfortable having you all represent us. That's all I have to say. I just hope and pray that we can work this out. And thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much for sharing with us. Lizanza Green.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Lawaza Green. My name is Lawaza Green, and I'm here to support the Fulton County Commissioner, Khadijah, Abdur Rahman, and also the one man, one vote. Senator Maynard is here to try and move forward. I'm thankful for the opportunity to speak. I feel like as a citizen and hope that the people that voted Congressman Commissioner Rahman in, the people are able to remain together, the communities can remain whole, and that the maps and whatever personal problems are eradicated, that the people that voted her in, our voices are heard. We're here in support to say that we want to see what is fair and that we're here to support the vote. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. Next is David Sharif.
Greetings to everybody. Madam Chair, thank you so much. And all the representatives in the community at large. I'm a citizen here in the city of Atlanta. And I must say that, you know, I am somewhat embarrassed about what I witnessed here today. I really don't feel like, you know, I'm being properly represented. I'm hearing infighting. I'm hearing people who throw dirt and lose ground. I'm hearing attacks on one another. You know, everybody is being subjective and nobody is being objective. They're focusing on problems and not focusing on solutions. You know, and it's an issue that really needs to be redressed. You know, I would hope that, you know, rather than engage, you know, further, we should recognize that this process needs to be improved. You know, we need some new leadership. We need some new vision. We need to move away from the stagnation that we have in the society, move away from all this immorality that's being perpetuated, that we're inheriting, and moving it forward rather than nipping it at the bud. So I'm really hoping that we could, you know, reorganize and bring some things together and stop this infighting and focus on what we need to do as a community of people that could be progressive, you know, and moving forward into our future that we have to create. I am in support of Bill 1199. I think that it's designed based on, you know, the 2020 census, which should be, you know, the foundation of any further discussion. And if that's ignored and not put in the right perspective, then we're going to be off. Everything is going to be off. You know, so I'm advocating for that and to keep the communities together. You know, one man, one vote. having fairness and equity. And I'm gonna stop with that, but I am full. I have a lot more that I really want to say, but I don't want to take up any much more time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next would be Anzan Abdullah. Anzian Abdullah? He left? Okay. Next would be Dawn Anderson.
Greetings, Madam Chair. How are you doing? My name is Dawn Anderson. I am a citizen, and I just wanted to see how the process worked today. I am in support of Commissioner Khadijah Abdurrahman and the Initiative 1199. I just wanted to say that I am kind of disappointed that people should feel like they should come up here if there is something that is bothering them. And this drawing of the map was directly affects the commissioner, that she should have a right to come up here and say, that this bothers me and this affects the people that voted for me, one man, one vote, to keep the community together.
Thank you very much for sharing. Michael Connor. Michael Connor. Has Michael left? Okay. Are there anyone that did not sign up that would like to speak? Representative Maynard, do you have any comments you'd like to make? Yes, please.
Someone left their phone up here. I'll keep this very brief so we stay on time. I want to start off by addressing Mayor Vick. Commissioner Khadijah's office contacted every single mayor. I did not speak to the mayors. I feel bad that I said they were bullied. So I want to be on the record saying that they were not bullied. They were contacted by people, and we have the letters of their support. Their letter of support was to keep communities whole, and I agree with them. Their letters of support was not to create an argument. There was a lot of discussion saying 2 people versus 19 people. The community has said it's not about fighting. What we're here for is because Fulton County doesn't have a map. There is not a map. Someone mentioned racism. I'm an African-American woman. Not sure what more to say about that. I'm going to ask Gina a question. I have some questions for Gina just to clarify. And to make it easy, if you can just say yes or no. Did the census data come out in November, or was the census data released in November for people to start making maps?
No, it was released in August.
Okay, census data was released in August. When did you get the first map from Fulton County?
January the 20th.
What time did you get it? January 20th?
It was after 7 o'clock at night.
And I believe, we've already know that once you got it on January 20th at 7 o'clock, the next morning, you had to send it back to them because it was sent to you in the wrong format. Is that correct?
Yes, we had to request them to reformat the file because it wasn't in the format that is specified for us to be able to import it.
Once you got it in the right format and you corrected the split precincts and all these other technical errors, you sent it back to them. When did you, and there were several, can you tell us how many maps were in front of the Fulton County map?
We received, I think there were 7 or 8 maps at that point from other jurisdictions that had submitted maps. I was working off a long list at that point, along with a lot of other things that I'm having to work on. So I worked through those as best I could with the time that I had, but there were about 7 or 8.
So within a week, you got through 7 or 8 other counties, also working on their revisions. You got back to Fulton County and sent them a map on January 28th. Is that correct?
Yes.
And after January 28th, you sent them a map back. And when did they contact you after January 28th?
I believe I received the addresses on January the 31st.
So on January 31st, they made yet another revision because the addresses were wrong.
Correct. I created a second draft to accommodate the addresses of the incumbents.
After January 30th, once you sent the map back to them, has Fulton County sent you another map?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Have you certified a map from Fulton County after January 31st?
No, and the certification would only come if the map that was provided met all technical standards and I didn't have any corrections to it. So I wouldn't certify a map that I drew. So unless they submitted a totally new map that I reviewed, which would then go on the list again, then I wouldn't have issued a certification.
And then on January 31st, after you sent the map back to Fulton County, did they, because they had already made a couple changes with the addresses, after January 31st, did they come back to you and say, this is good, this is the map that we want?
No.
Someone said opinion versus fact. Commissioner spoke to each mayor. We have the letters of support. The letters of support were not meant to cause dissension. Those mayors represent South Fulton. They represent the almost 200,000 people that Commissioner Khadijah represents. I don't believe that while I was up here, I attacked anybody's character. I did say someone was bullied. I should not have said that. But other than that, I have not attacked anybody's character. My character was attacked. My character was attacked because I created a map and there's no other map. Representative David Dreyer mentioned a February 10th deadline. I want to address Gina again, if you don't mind. Can you tell us when was the first deadline for the maps to be done and everything based on what the General Assembly sent out to all legislators?
So there was a mention of late January, early February at the letter that I think you're referring to that was sent out to all members. I don't know that it specified a particular date at that point, but that was the implication, the end of January, the beginning of February, that maps needed to be, and local redistricting maps needed to be moving in the process at that point.
So the date said January 1st, and Chairman Tankersley was on the House floor on February 1st. She was on the House floor on February 1st, and she said, you know what? You have until February 7th. I need your maps by February 7th. Ms. Wright has said she has not received anything back from Fulton County saying, please go forward with the map, which means there is no map. They said something about Senator Albers. I spoke to Senator Albers. The map that I created has all the recommendations for districts 1, 2, and like I said before, District 3 is similar between all the maps. They said they submitted a map yesterday. They did not submit a map yesterday. You know what they submitted? They submitted a bill that said they want the Fulton County Board of Commissioners. This is true. They made a mistake, but this is what they submitted, and it's on the website. They submitted a bill yesterday that said, we want to make the Fulton County Board of Commissioners a nonpartisan seat. That is what was submitted yesterday. It was not a map. I was confused. So I contacted an expert in the reapportionment process. I contacted Ms. Gina Wright, and I said, I'm looking for the map. They said they submitted a map yesterday. Where's the map? We both were online trying to figure it out. She was confused. I was confused. So I asked everyone in my delegation. I don't see a map. I see Representative David Dreyer submitted a bill to make the Fulton County Board of Commissioners a nonpartisan seat. So a map was not submitted yesterday. I like the comment that someone from the community made. These are not our districts. There are 180 representatives. All of our districts were changed. Some people's district numbers were changed. It is not our district. We may not get elected the next time. We can't pick and choose how we want our district to look. There are redistricting laws that say, make it compact, keep communities of interest together. It doesn't say, well, we always did it this way, so we're going to do it like this. No, it's 2020. We're supposed to be dealing with the facts of today, not in 2010. This was really interesting. We had Commissioner Natalie Hall say, basically attacking me, I don't know what I'm doing because I'm a new legislator. I know the deadlines. I know how to write a map because I went to the reapportionment office and I did it. I took hours of my own personal time to do it. Some people say, why did you do that? You don't have to do it. If they don't have a map, they just don't have a map. That's not my character because I represent those people. They need a map. They need a fair map. So it's not, we can't say that this is a bad map because I'm new and I don't know the process. We're here because I do know the process. Fulton County didn't submit a map. And the person that made that comment was not here during the last reapportionment process either. The last point I want to make, Chair, is they came up here and they said a lot about 3 maps, 3 maps, 3 maps. There were 3 maps, there are 3 maps, there are 3 maps. 2 maps were not valid maps. I want to ask Gina a question. Can a map be valid if you change a commissioner's district number and precinct and make them have to run again?
So it might be a good question for Stuart, but from my understanding of the law, you cannot shorten a member's term. So you could not draw an elected official into a district that would be up for election sooner than their term would expire. At that point, you're shortening their term and causing them to run again in a district that is up sooner than their term would be up. So you can't do that. And Stuart, you might want to elaborate. Or did I get it right?
Well, that's just about right, yeah.
Thanks, Stuart.
Ms. Corbett mentioned, it might not have been Ms. Corbett, let me not just mention anybody. Someone said regroup. After the Fulton County delegation meeting, we said we're going to regroup. There was never a regroup. No one contacted Commissioner Abdur Rahman. And the very last thing is someone mentioned Washington Park, which is in my district. I know every single part of my district. Before, Washington Park was split up into 3 county commissioners. My map corrected that. And I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for being here today and those that were able to share their thoughts with us. It's greatly appreciated. I do want to make a couple comments. And quite frankly, I'm very embarrassed and I feel sorry for the citizens of Fulton County that this has happened. I represent 3 counties and we didn't have these kind of issues. There needs to be better communication. Several people talked about that. It's a large delegation and it's hard to get consensus on everything. I understand that. But by the same token, the people deserve better. It's not right. Sometimes I think there's an old saying about too many cooks spoil the pot. And I think we need to take a long look at that. But I do appreciate everyone coming and sharing their thoughts with us. And this meeting is adjourned.